Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome back to Wargame. Before we kick off today's Wargame replay, I wanted to ask you for your help in achieving my goal. I recently came across an article by Kevin Kelly. Some of you might know the guy. He's the author or I think it was the publisher or editor of the Wired magazine at some point. Very, very clever guy. Anyway, he wrote an article that said, to be a successful creator, you don't need millions. You don't need millions of dollars or millions of customers or millions of clients or millions of fans. To make a living as a craftsperson, a photographer, a musician, a designer, an author, an animator, an app maker, an entrepreneur, or an inventor, you only need 1,000 true fans. This has been, it says you only need thousands of true fans. This has been whittled down over time to you only need 1,000 fans. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make that my goal for 2020. I'm going to try and get 1,000 Patreon supporters. Even if 1,000 people just donate $1 a month, that would be such a massive help in making sure that I can keep doing this for a living. Especially in tandem with the very random, very unreliable YouTube ad revenue. So, I am asking you to help me achieve my goal of 1,000 patrons. Even if you donate just $1 a month, that would be of assistance for me to get to those 1,000 true fans. Now, I'm not saying that those of you who do not donate thus are not true fans. I don't believe that. I mean, everybody has their own financial difficulties, their own financial situation. But you'd be really doing me a big help. Anyway, today's replay, sent in by a username that I could pronounce. I mean, it is English. But which would probably get me, let's say shadow demonetized. Because this is a certain substance that is outlawed in various different countries. So I'm going to call this user Charlie85. He's operating for us today the Leclerc. And normally if you have a tank like that, you go over on the left, which is an area where the Leclerc definitely can do work. He's, however, not taking it to the left, he's taking it right to the middle. And with that starts a very interesting adventure. Now he's going in with Eurocore armored, which means that he has this Leclerc at elite. He has a Flak Panzer Gepard A2, currently with the weapons disabled, or at least with the guns disabled, because they're radar guided. And he rather would not lose it to seed. One mortar, quite close to the front line. In case you're wondering why, it's to put up smoke screens to make sure that he can manufacture his own concealment when and wherever he needs it. He has an infantry with AA and he has a recon squad. Aside from him, there is one guy going to the middle with a recce team. Very handy ally to have, because these are far better at staying concealed than his own guys and his own commandos para. There's also rangers, but the rangers seem to already be having a pretty bad day, as they're taking fire from an M84AN. And here, by the way, you can see exactly what I mean with manufacturing your own concealment. Putting up a smoke screen from an M106A2. Okay, the Gepard's almost in position. Not exactly a unit you would want to be leading with. So the Commandos Para and the Leclerc are going to have to catch up soon. And the Leclerc can definitely do that. This thing can do a speed of 75 kph off-road. Which I think, along with the T80 line, makes it one of the fastest tanks off-road. Now, it looks like Blue has decent control over the left. We already have an M1A2 pushing pretty close to Foxtrot. They have cavalry scouts over there. They got another M1A2 over here. The right, however, is almost non-existent. As this guy is saying, what the hell is this? Where are all the units? Well, nobody went there. That's kind of what you get. Leclerc currently has scored its first kill. And with that is about to start an interesting kill streak for this unit. Now, this WZ-550 is a great anti-tank unit. But why exactly it's not using its 3,000 meter range, or near enough, and trying to get the Leclerc up close, I don't really understand. Because he's being spotted, and now we know what the spotter is. The spotter for the WZ-550 is the ZTQ-62, which has almost been killed. But even a unit that's almost been killed can still spot for you. So the 550 has been detected. And now it's up to the mortars over... Sorry, not even the mortars. These are really big guns. The Buchan 1Cs to try and push that guy out of position and make it far less hospitable to make that 550 work over here. In the meanwhile, there's a DHS Mi-24P coming up. Very aggressive move, and gets punished very quickly by the Flak Panzer Gepard. Pushes out, takes the guns online, takes the helicopter out, and pulls right back into cover. Of course, at this point, it's going to be pretty obvious where the Flak Panzer Gepard is or where it's going. And the Buratino thinks that that might make for a very interesting snack. Speaking of snacks, the Buratino is panicked. It's not only panicked, it's also stunned. So the Leclerc pushed out for a little bit, trying to get the kill, but could not quite get into range. The 550 is immediately jumping on the opportunity and trying to get the kill. Notices that the Leclerc backs off and immediately falls back again. There's another Mi-24P circling overhead. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same guy who's operating the first Mi-24P. And he is probably reconsidering how he wants to deploy this helicopter now that he knows that the Flak Panzer Gepard is here. And sure enough, the whole forest is on fire. Interestingly, the Recce did not actually take that much damage. It could have very easily wiped them out. Flak Panzer Gepard did take some damage, but not nearly that much. And while this guy is saying help, well, yeah, but the Flak Panzer Gepard doesn't really have any location to fall back to, other than the tree line. He could use the tree line to fall back and then get back into the forest. That might work. But at the moment, this is what we have. Another unit has been spotted. This could very well be the 550 again. It does fire an HGM and gets hit by cluster artillery. The Leclerc at this point has been hit, taken another missile damage, or another bit of missile damage from that 550, and is now really forced to withdraw, especially with the stabilization malfunction lasting another minute or two. This tank needs help. It's going to need repairs, and a lot of them. So let's hope that there is. He already has a resupply vehicle on the way, and with that he can pretty much fix up the whole tank. Now, what's the rest of the front doing? Not a whole lot. There are commandos here. Somebody's saying we need HGMs, and Drutmaster says on my way. Over here in Alpha there's not a whole lot left. We got a couple of riflemen, one Bradley. The guys from the Max are falling back. They do have some sort of picket line, if you will, to make sure that enemy helicopters are not going to be trying anything funny here over on the right flank. I think though... Oh, it looked like that F5B was going for this target. This is going to be an important unit, by the way. The XA-186NO. Anyway, Leclerc has been withdrawn. It is currently not sitting in concealment, which makes it quite risky. If the enemy has reconnaissance parked over here, they might spot it. They might have line of sight on it. Which means that further artillery bombardments could be inbound. Now, before I forget to mention it, this guy who sent it in, Charlie 85, he did one of the most interesting things in the replay description. He made a screenshot of the kill list of the Leclerc. And he said, here's the kill list. Now you don't actually have to be watching the battle from my side. I was like, holy shit. That's one of the most thoughtful things somebody has done for me recently in sending in a replay. Back in the day, replays were just dumped saying, hey, here, good game. And I thought, right. And now you're going to make me sift through all the replays that I get, which is about 3 to 5 per day. So that's about 90 to 150 replays a month. That fills up quick. Over the years, I have gotten better at sifting through them. And if people put up an interesting description, and the more interesting, the more elaborate the description is, the better. And when somebody even goes to the length of putting up a kill list or linking me a screenshot of their kill list, you're making it very easy for me to see whether this is a good replay or not. So, well played here to Charlie 85, because this is the perfect way to draw my attention. There, now you guys know it too. I expect to be seeing more screenshots with kill lists, making your job and mine a lot easier. Anyway, how's Blue doing? Well, quite alright. They still have the M1A2 Abrams over here. They have the second one falling a little bit further behind. Foxtrot is difficult to push into, because yes, you have the tree lines, but aside from that, it is not that easy to get in there, because HGM planes are going to be on top of you very quickly. So they have, let's say, more or less control over the left. Jeez, there's a third M1A2. They have more or less control over the left. Over the right, not so much. People are saying fall back to the city. This is where they want to be, apparently. Aside from that, they do have a fairly good reconnaissance situation going on here, although the commandos have been taking some fire from a T-72 M1 mod. The other commandos, which are pushing up over here, are trying to get more information, but are paying very dearly for it, as the ZTZ-85-2 is pushing back on them. Now, we have the CV from Blue in this position, which means that Blue is now actually controlling the sector, as opposed to just neutralizing it. There is smoke, so the Leclerc can fall back if it needs to. It's just going to be a question of range. Leclerc has range, and with the first shot, the Leclerc hits the T-72 M1 mod. The T-72 M1 mods return fire, and then gets an optical failure. Very unfortunate for this tank, because it effectively puts him out of the fight. So now the Leclerc is going to have to make a choice. Do we push in? And do I try to go for other units? Or do I just fall back? Do I just not push in too far? Because there might be more lurking about. And there is. There's a T-80U and a T-80UK command tank. That is a bit much. Leclerc is taking HGM after HGM. He is exchanging fire with the T-80U. And by some RNG chance, is able to knock out the optics of this T-80U as well. I'm not sure if we're dealing with a sniper over here, but this guy knows exactly how to hit the optical sensors of the enemy tanks. At this point, though, he is able to kill off that one tank. Now it is a T-80U and a T-80UK, so he already took out one T-80U and there's a second one. Now it's getting a bit too dangerous, so now the Leclerc has to fall back again. So he already took out the T-72, or actually no, he did not take out the T-72, but he made it fall back. And now he took out a T-80U. Just those two units, or those, actually that one kill, already made him redeem the investment on this tank. He has scored 260 points so far, but we're not quite done yet. Now once again, a Buratino fires on this position. This guy says stay, but unfortunately that's not the only artillery that's coming in. And the standard tube artillery is able to take out the CV. So, yeah, well, no, we're not going to stay there. The situation on the right, I'm not sure what red is doing. I was looking at the kill list and I thought, hang on. Or at the scores, rather. Hang on, blue has scored 1695 versus red's 810. Arguably, that would mean that red is weak somewhere. They must be missing out on units somewhere, but the question is where? So, does it mean that they're weak in alpha? Because it seems like at the moment they're pretty powerful in Foxtrot, especially with the Akula flying around. And the M1A2, well, both of them are now in quite a bit of trouble if that Akula decides to keep pushing. Speaking of pushes, the red 4 units are once again coming out with the T-80UKs and the T-80U, and the Leclerc is not exactly fixed up and ready to go. We still have supplies, it's still being repaired, but in the meanwhile the Commandos Para are the victims of these assaulting tanks. Anyway, somebody was using Akulas. I saw a couple of fighters over there earlier. There's 2 T-80Us here, well, and a T-80UK if you will. Where is red weak? I think it might be alpha. I'll look into that after I've done the whole replay as is. And I'll show you what red had at that point. Anyway, unfortunately the Flak Panzer Gepard dies, but the Leclerc gets its revenge. It returns fire, and it wasn't a side shot. He just frontally penetrated that tank and was able to, I think, one-shot it, unless the tank was weak, but I wouldn't know what exactly it was that would have weakened it. Although a longbow would do the job. Anyway, the T-80U is now very weak. The longbow is out of range, but the Leclerc is not. And the Leclerc takes the kill for 150 points. Hat tip to the longbow over here, because without him it would probably have been much more of a problematic fight over here. And speaking of problems, the K-52 is back. This is the one that was operating here a moment ago, and it's been flying around, potentially loading up on some more fuel and missiles, and is now looking for the Leclerc. Because the Leclerc is currently posing quite a bit of a problem up here. So red needs to do something. Charlie 85 is saying help. We need AA over here. And in the meanwhile, somebody is seriously pinging this CV, but like time and time and time again. He's just spamming attack markers, or defense markers if you want to be exact. Red still has tanks over here. There's a Moderna pushing in, and a ZTQ-62G recon. There's even a couple of HQ-61s, and I think I saw another AA unit there a moment ago. So at this point, it's going to be hard for Blue to counter these units with planes. Sure enough, you could send in a Hornet. You could take the chance if you really want to. But your risk versus reward, as far as I'm concerned, is not balanced. It is way, way too much of a risk to send in an airplane versus an uncertain reward. Because you might not be able to kill the tank. And in the meanwhile, Red also has an air patrol going on. An aggressive air patrol at that. And they really want to get the longbow, and they do. And unfortunately, they seem to escape, well, not unharmed. Look at that. There's even a Puff chasing them down at this point with a couple of AIM-9Ls. Both MiGs have taken severe damage. They're still airborne. This one left and the other one left as well. And there is already another air patrol. I wouldn't be surprised if that's another 2 MiG-29 913s. The Patriot did make a valiant effort to try and take them down, but was unable to do so. It's always the curse of the Patriot. You just don't quite have the kill power. You just cannot quite get everything killed in one go. Anyway, Leclerc back operational. It is being spotted over here. That's not something you want to see. Now, he's going to be very easily capable of taking out a Topaz over there. The question is what was inside the Topaz, because it either survived or was dropped off earlier, and they were just using a bit of throwaway vehicles for reconnaissance. I guess we still have, yeah, there's still MiG-29 913 circling behind. They take out the Puff. Gripen flies in. Does a bit of damage, but does not have the turn. Patriot's completely out of ammo. Right. Now this actually makes it all the more interesting for me. Red has scored 1145 points. Blue has scored 2375. We know that Red's operating expensive units. There's a K-50 flying around. There's a Moderna operating around here. There's definitely still some artillery around. There's MiG-29s flying all over the place. Here's another aircraft. I think that's the F-5B that we saw previous. That's a lot of expensive power that's not really capable of holding much of a line. So where's Red weak? Where do they not have units? Because I think it very well might be Alpha. I think this might be one of those mirages where you think that the enemy is very strong in Alpha because they took it so easily. But that could be courtesy of just nobody from Blue 4 going to Alpha. Well, sorry, no, that's not entirely true. One of the guys went there. I'm just not exactly who it was. Maybe Incident over here. But I think that at the moment it is actually doable to try and push in here. And Drutmaster is trying it as well. Now, unfortunately, the spotter helicopter that Charlie 85 was using over here has been shot down. The Alouette 3 is no more. That means that they have to rely now on the Recce over here from Incident. The CV is in position, but they're being countercapped as well. And this is that unit that I said to keep an eye on. It came out of this XA-186NO, and it's a sniper team. The Marine Jaeger. Exceptionally stealthy, very good optics, and they can do 30 kilometers just continuously. And oh look. Oh look. We caught Red with their pants down. There is a lot of artillery over here. And this is just another thing that I think, okay, so you got a lot of planes, you got a lot of artillery, you got a lot of expensive helicopters and tanks. Where are you weak? You're probably weak in Alpha. And Delta Force is looking for the CV, but I wouldn't be surprised if Red 4 went for a sort of double bluff and put the CV somewhere over here. Just thinking, well, blue's not even trying. And since blue's not even trying, I can push in. Anyway, blue for artillery now is going to have a field day. Artillery is more or less being coordinated. There is a large amount of cluster coming in. One MSTAS dies. The second one takes heavy damage. The third one is able to fall back. That is... Oh, what was that again? It's not a Gruz, I think. Here's the Bertino. There you go. Thank you. Just one Marine Jaeger. Or two, if you want to be exact about it. 2 Marine Jaeger taking out this whole group. And now the Mi-2 is going, aha, gotcha. Yeah, that's a little too late, sir. We have already taken down all of your artillery. Unfortunately, somebody drops what seems to be a laser-guided bomb right on top of them. And that's the end of the Marine Jaeger. Still, though, I'd say that they did their duty. They performed their duty admirably, and they spotted everything that needed spotting. Now, at this point, blue 2695 versus red's 1360. The attack over here got repelled. So there is still definitely some red 4 units over here, we just don't exactly know what. Now, there's another Moderna. The Moderna is being spotted potentially by the BGS, and now we're having a gunfight again. Leclerc does some damage, missing the second shot. Moderna, I think, got line of sight blocked due to the smoke screen or decided to fall back. This does allow the Leclerc a little bit more time to heal up, provided that he can get another supply vehicle over, and there is a Mankati underway. At this point, they still have their M1A2s, but it seems like blue is on the defensive over here. Interesting to see Legion 90 falling back here. I'm not sure why it want to be falling back with the Legion 90, unless you know that there's a Delta Force team operating around, and you really want to get those guys killed off. Even though 10 Legion 90 versus 20 Delta Force, that could be an interesting fight. In this case, I would split up the Delta Force and make sure that they come in from 2 different angles, because if you just have them bunched up in one large group of 20, and the enemy starts blasting with that napalm launcher, well, you're going to have a pretty uncomfortable day. And the Legion might actually win that. There's a second Moderna, spotted by the BGS. Unfortunately, the BGS has been counter-spotted. So there is something over here that can see the BGS without the BGS being able to see it. What is that? Well, there are various choices. There are lots of options, because these guys only have good stealth. The enemy could have a sniper team in there with exceptional stealth, and they would not be detected as easily as the BGS would be detecting them. Or that they would be spotting the BGS, because these guys only have good stealth. Look at all this firepower. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fighters. This is Noisy Ninja. West Germany, Best Germany. There's another fighter. There's Ironside with a MiG-25 BM, a Seed aircraft. The Akula is back, although this I think is a different Akula. There's a Q-5D. I think this would be the culprit who took out the Marine Jaeger team over there. They have... Oh, that's an Mi-2. This is a massive amount of air power. And considering that they're not actually trying to hunt anything down actively, it seems like they're just trying to make a show of saying, haha, we got all this. What are you going to do about it? It looks like the Patriot took a shot. And I'm seeing 2 MiGs out of the original 3, so they might have been able to take one down. A Barak flies in right after them, killing off another one. You can just see it here. If it's fast, it can get the other one, but no, unfortunately not. Now, it looks like that T-72 M1 mod that was originally damaged by the Leclerc is still there. It's not exactly posing too much of a threat, although I'm sure Delta Force would disagree. But for the larger strategic consideration, I'd say that this tank over here is not really a problem. Sure enough, it's... oh, it's already on the move. It's bad news for the Delta Force, because it means they cannot be pushing this way. But aside from that, it's not really that much of an issue. It's not really that much of a problem. This Akula is hovering still for a little too long. back in the day, you could shoot down helicopters using mortars. You cannot quite do that anymore unless they're hovering low and you can use splash damage. But what you can do is cluster them. And that's exactly what was happening. Unfortunately, they did not get the kill. Now, he's saying that a mod over here died. So that's another kill. Now, he might go out and take out the Potnos over here. No, he's not going for it. It's too risky. It is a very tempting target. But the problem is, if you want to be shooting the Potnos over here, you're going to have to move out to about here. And the enemies could have ATGMs over here. If an ATGM flies into the side of a Leclerc from that range, it's goodbye, Leclerc. It's just gone. Anyway, Commander's Para, once again, a new group in position, has already spotted a victim, an ITO 79. Long-range anti-air missiles, radar-guided though, so they might not be active. This thing, however, is active. ZTZ-85-2A. I think we've seen that guy before as well, and we're not able to kill him at that point. Unfortunately, at this point, the Leclerc does not really have all the assistance that it needs, because it does not have any anti-air. And considering the, the severe presence of Red Force air units, both in the form of the Q5D, the HJ8, and also the KA50, unless I missed it being killed, which is very possible. It's going to be very risky to push out here and try and get that ZTZ-85 killed, especially using the Leclerc. Now at this point, Delta Force is pushing out a little too aggressively, running into Spetsnaz GRU and the T-72. They will be able to take these guys down, long range, using the M60E3. And so far the damage seems to be piling on, but I'm not sure if they can get the kill in time before the Spetsnaz GRU disengage. Well, they're trying to get it, but at this point it gets increasingly risky. And here comes the Q5D yet again. Ooh. Delta Force survived, but only just. Another bit of cluster artillery gets fired at that last known position of the Ionut 79 and potentially the tank that was over there as well. The ZTQ-85. So that means that the units are weaker, but are you really willing to push in? Once again, the Akula is still on station. It's a fast helicopter, so you gotta be very careful with the Leclerc at this point. So far, they don't really need to be pushing out anyway. They have scored 3,500 points versus 1,485. And I'm seeing more and more and more of Red Force surrender. I kind of get why, and I kind of don't get it. At one point, I'm thinking, sure, they have lost a lot of points. They're 2,000 points behind. But at the same time, Blue isn't actively pushing anywhere. It's not like this is about to be over in the next 5 minutes. He said and looked at the replay timer and went, aha, there's 4 minutes left. Well, that does mean that there's not 5 minutes left. Anyway, on the other hand, they do have Alpha, they do have Foxtrot, Delta's neutral. They actually have the same amount, sorry, they have more income than Blue 4. They should have more points. That can mean that they're going to throw away points faster, which is a consideration and a risk. Especially uncoordinated attacks, as we have seen a couple of times now, can be exceptionally problematic. As you can lose out on units very, very quickly. And with that, lose out on points and still lose the game. Now, another bit of artillery goes up. That's 4 LAR 160s with cluster. Smirch, that's what I was looking at earlier. Jesus, that took me a while. Now, it's forcing the Chanmaho 4s out of position, and they are being softened up. So now the Leclerc is, well, he's thinking about it. He's moving into a position from where he might be able to dash out and get a kill and dash back. But unfortunately, a little while ago, the mortar died. And with that, the Leclerc no longer has cover. It no longer has the capability of putting up smoke. He kills off a transport. Not really what we're looking to kill here. There's Lee Ren. Hold on. There's Lee Ren outside the structures. So they might have come out of the vehicle. Interesting. SU-27 PU. Yeah, you didn't have enough fighters yet. Why don't you? This is problematic. Conquer's team. This means that if the Leclerc pushes out here to try and engage the Chanmaho force, it is going to get killed off. Ironside at this point surrenders. That's another Red 4 player. Leclerc is going for it. Oh, please don't. Here comes the missile. No, 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 no. Ooh, that missed. He's trying to duke it out with the Chanmaho 4. They don't need much. Chanmaho 4 died. How aggressive do you want to play it? Because there is no need to be this aggressive. You don't need to get the kill. Also, there's an M1992. Jesus. An M1992. Sorry, guys, it's Monday morning. This thing also has a Conqueror's missile, which means that they sort of have this thing at very dangerous angles. There, you get to the Chanmaho 4. Super Itandar was also trying to go for it and dunks its missile into the ground. Oh dear. Well, he's in concealment, and here we go. This missile kills off a VLRA. That means that they have 2 missiles fired that we know of. Means that they still have 4 missiles left. I think he might, at this point, be a little bit too focused on the target, as he's still trying to get the M1992. And once again, the Conqueror's team fires a missile, and this time it strikes home. And you could just about see the Leclerc looking to the left going, no, 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 no. Yeah, dead. In the last, well, little more than the last 60 seconds of this game, he lost his Leclerc. And this is when we have a backside driver, sorry, a backseat general, backseat driver, who's going to chime in using attack markers. Here we go. That could have easily been prevented if you paid attention to that Conquerors on your flank, says Aussie Shitposter. Yes and no. Yes, I agree. It could have very easily been prevented. He did not need to push out that far. The M1992 was not posing that much of a problem. I think he got over-eager. And Charlie 85 snaps back. Come back when you have 918 points. Aussie at this point has 418 for reference. Versus Charlie's 918. So, fair point. I'm not sure what the stats are for this guy, but we'll see. Anyway, the guy says touche. So I think that speaks to his advantage. Anyway, at this point, I think the last player from Red surrenders, because otherwise I don't really see how they could lose the game. But I thought that this was a very interesting display of how to use the Leclerc down right in the middle. Points gained, 1195. Points lost, 525. For reference, the guy who is backseat generaling, 695 versus 150. Now, before I... Oh shit, I should have shown you the kill list. I want to know what Red was doing. Where were the Red 4 units? Let's speed it up to 10 times speed. What did they go with? They went with helicopters all over the place. Lots of vehicles going left, potentially. Stop. Okay, so we have Recon, Strop, M84AN. That's the only tank that they had here. Risky. They were weak on the left. What do they have here? Not that much. Really not that much. They did have an HGM team there, Yonde. Look at that. If you're looking strictly at what they had in the sector, it was 1 squad of Legion 90, 1 551, and 1 T72 M1 mod. Period. That's all. That is all that they had. Similarly, for blue, they just almost didn't have anything. They're very close in contact here, and now they're dropping off some more units. There's one more Yonde coming in. I think Red Force position over here was exceptionally weak. Oh, here's the Moderna, and there's the T80Us and the T80UK. All from Ironside. Interestingly, he's keeping them in the town here. This is when he starts pushing. Right. So that's what Red was doing. Oh, now they're pushing him with more. See, I don't get this. I do not understand why Talon Strike would be pushing in. Because at this point there is no real tactical / strategical reason why you would want to push in with more forces in Alpha. The only reason that I could think of is that you want to try and push through Alpha and get to, let's say, this position over here, this tree line. The big question is, and then what? And then what? You got expensive units moving around here. Legion 90, Yukionde 90. And now? Now what? They're just sitting here. This is 65 points. They're still pushing a little bit. Seemingly looking for a fight with the French forces that came out of those transports. They're very easily capable of pushing these guys out. There you go, that's commandos, that's Legion. And they keep pushing. Over on the left, they did have a decent force concentration here. Recon, Conquerors. That might very well be the Conquerors team that at some point takes out the Leclerc. Moderna. They were so weak on the left. Although, to be fair, if the T-80Us and the T-80UK had suddenly swung over to the left, the M1A2s, both M1A2s that were over there, could not have been pushing. It was just too risky, especially since the T-80Us have ATGMs. And on top of that, the enemy has, let's say, almost 100% air control. Sure enough, Blue had a Patriot over here that was more or less countering air control. But I don't think that Blue sent out a lot of jets. Just not a whole lot. Right. So Red, look at this. And all sorts of expensive units sitting around there doing nothing. That's what their problem was, I think. They had too many units over here. And not really any units they could push. I mean, once you get to this tree line, it's GG. You cannot really go anywhere. Anyway, I'm gonna skip the kill list for this time around. I highlighted the kills that the Leclerc got, which were the T-80U, the T-80UK, the Moderna. It was able to snipe a couple of transports here and there. And at the very last bit, Charlie got a little greedy, decided to go for the M1992, and lost the gambit. Very, very unfortunate. Shit happens, I guess. Anyway, that's it for the replay. Once again, please help me get to that goal of the 1,000 true fans / 1,000 patrons. Even if you pitch in $1 a month, that would be a great help. Because I have the numbers. We have the high ground. I have the numbers. Whatever you want to call it. Link down below in the description. Thank you for your support, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good week. And I shall be talking to you very, very soon. Because I have a lot of content lined up for this week. See you soon.